Hi, I'm Lori. Welcome to our next chapter, Life After Corporate. My husband Ken and I retired from corporate life, and now we're building a freedom-first lifestyle through real estate and other projects while actually enjoying the life we worked for. We live in Boise, Idaho, but we also spend time in Seattle, where our yacht is kept in Elliott Bay. You'll see everyday life, hangar days, marina weekends, tennis and cooking, behind the scenes of our projects, and plenty of cameos from Lexi, our Pekingese Chihuahua with a big personality. And you'll also meet my 95-year-old mother. I take her to Catholic Church in Glens Ferry twice a month, and she's one of the best parts of this chapter. If you love real-life lifestyle, routines, and a little adventure, subscribe and come along with us. There are birthdays, and then there are milestone birthdays. Ken's mother, Margaret, was about to turn 80, and Ken had been planning her celebration for weeks. And apparently, planning an 80th birthday party involves a surprising number of Amazon boxes. If Amazon sold something that said 80, there was a pretty good chance it was arriving at our house. With the party supplies gathered, it was finally time to pack up and head to Utah. But first, there was one family member who needed to know the plan. Lexi was staying home this trip, so we explained that our nephew Preston would be coming to take care of her while we were gone. She seemed to think it was a pretty good idea. Lexi, you're staying here and Preston is going to come take care of you. Yeah. That'll be fun. You'll have fun with Preston. But before hitting the road, Ken made some breakfast, because apparently you shouldn't organize an 80th birthday party on an empty stomach. And then we were off. The drive from Boise to Salt Lake City area takes us through miles of beautiful farmland, wide open country, and some pretty spectacular scenery. Eventually, the landscape began to change, and the Salt Lake City skyline came into view. Welcome to Utah. But before meeting up with Margaret, we had one mission to tackle: her birthday outfit. We stopped at the outlet mall just to see if we could find anything that might work. Margaret already had an appointment scheduled with a personal shopper at Nordstrom the next day, but we figured it didn't hurt to see what else was out there. After all, an 80th birthday deserves a special outfit. Then we headed toward Lehi with those incredible Utah mountains rising in the distance. Margaret lives in a beautiful community with its own clubhouse, and that was where we'd be holding the party. We pulled into the parking lot and apparently arrived during sprinkler hour. They were going off everywhere. Then Margaret arrived, and judging by the hug she gave Ken, I think she was pretty happy to have her birthday planning committee in town. Our first job was to figure out exactly what we were working with. Luckily, the clubhouse has a large kitchen, which was going to be important when you're feeding almost 40 adults and 6 children. Margaret, are you ready for your 80th birthday party?
I am so excited that I can hardly stand it.
Margaret showed us the main gathering space with plenty of tables and chairs and this big rock fireplace. And she was already getting excited, imagining everyone gathered here for her birthday. Meanwhile, Ken was doing what Ken does: checking tables, counting chairs, and figuring out exactly how everything was going to work. Margaret also gave me a little tour of the clubhouse. One of her favorite features is the enclosed swimming pool. When the weather isn't good enough to walk outside, she comes over here and walks laps around the pool to get her steps in. At 80 years old, she still makes staying active a priority. The next morning, we were off on another important birthday assignment: finding the outfit. But on the way, Margaret had another decision to make: cake. We were ordering 2 birthday cakes, so she was working through the very important questions of flavors, fillings, and toppings. There are certain decisions you simply cannot rush, especially when cake is involved. We arrived at the Fashion Place Mall in the Salt Lake City area. Margaret brought her walker. She doesn't need it all the time, but since we knew we might be doing quite a bit of walking, it made the shopping day a lot easier. Our first stop was actually Macy's. We found several tops that looked promising, and Margaret became our model for the day. She would disappear into the dressing room, come back out, get a review, and head right back in to try another one. It was her pretty woman moment. There were some contenders, but nothing yet that felt like the one. Then we headed to Nordstrom for Margaret's appointment with her personal shopper, Tracy. Tracy was wonderful.
Do you like the idea of a 2-piece?
She already had several pieces waiting when we arrived and had clearly put some thought into what might work for Margaret. Margaret asked me to go back out onto the floor with Tracy and look for a few more possibilities. And that's when we found it: a beautiful pair of navy pants and this gorgeous ice blue silk shirt. The minute Margaret put it on, we knew. She looked elegant, she looked beautiful, but most importantly, she felt beautiful. and that was exactly what we wanted for her birthday. And right about then, the birthday weekend started becoming a family reunion. Margaret's youngest daughter, Lisa, had just arrived from Charlottesville, Virginia with her husband, Greg, and their 17-year-old daughter, Katie. And somehow they tracked us down all the way to the Nordstrom dressing room. Then Tracy added one final touch to Margaret's outfit, a scarf, and showed us a few different ways she could wear it. Just a little something extra to finish everything off. Then Katie came in and got her turn with Nana, the name Margaret is affectionately referred to by her grandchildren. Katie is very tall and, by the way, a rock star volleyball player. So standing next to Margaret makes for a pretty cute picture. And of course, Margaret had to show everyone the new birthday outfit. It had officially received family approval. We thanked Tracy, bought the outfit, and moved on to another important family tradition, lunch. Greg and Ken found us a table at the Nordstrom Bistro, and for the first time that day, everyone got to sit down together. And since we were all together, we raised a glass to Margaret, to 80 years, to family, and to the weekend ahead. As we headed out, Lisa was still shopping. She grabbed one last dress and held it up to herself just in case, because apparently shopping is never really finished until you've physically left the building. Eventually, we did. Next, we wanted to show Margaret the Airbnb where the rest of us were staying. The mountains looked beautiful. The traffic, not quite as beautiful. As we made our way there, a thunderstorm rolled in. Eventually, we made it, and this was not exactly your average Airbnb. 7 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, 3 levels. And the house also happened to be for sale for just under $1.5 million. So naturally, we needed a tour. We walked into this big foyer with a sitting room on one side and an office nearby. Then it opened into the main living area with the kitchen, dining room, and family room all connected. It was perfect for a big family gathering because everyone could spread out without really being separated. And then there was the primary bedroom. Somehow, everyone decided that Ken and I should stay in there. We did not make that decision, but we also didn't argue with it, especially when I discovered this, a full-body massage chair. I've seen chairs like this online for somewhere around $13,000. So naturally, I considered it my responsibility to test it thoroughly throughout our stay. The bedroom even had its own fireplace. I was beginning to think I could adjust to this. Katie volunteered to take me on the rest of the tour. As we headed upstairs, even the steps had lighting built underneath them. Katie, why don't you give us a tour?
Oh, okay. So going up the stairs, we have the nice chandelier that we already saw. Well, not the camera, but we saw it. Very nice. These stairs are nice. Lots of nice artwork, of course. Very house tour. Whoa, wait, they light up as you wait, that's cool. Okay. Better view of the chandelier.
Yes, look at that.
Nice. Okay. Oh, we're on.
I knew there was a piano here. I just felt it.
A piano?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, wait, I love that.
Then Katie showed me some of the bedrooms and bathrooms and one of the laundry rooms. And yes, I said one of the laundry rooms. This house had laundry facilities on all 3 floors. Before we moved on, Katie sat down and played a little piano for me. And later, Margaret came upstairs and played too. There was something pretty special about watching an 80-year-old grandmother and her teenage granddaughter sitting at the same piano during her birthday weekend. Back downstairs, I continued exploring. Another bathroom, another hallway, and a 3-car garage. Then I discovered there was still an entire basement. Downstairs was another living area with this big play sign on the wall. There were workout machines, a children's play area, and even more bedrooms and bathrooms. Basically, you could lose a family member in this house and not realize it until breakfast. And then we found the theater, with 7 white leather theater chairs, a beverage center, and even an old-fashioned popcorn machine. At this point, I was reconsidering whether we actually needed to go back to Boise. Back upstairs, everyone was settling in. Ken, Lisa, and Katie were hanging out in the living room, talking and catching up. I loved some of the architectural details in the house too, including these suspended beams across the ceiling, which appeared in several rooms. Pretty soon, the kitchen became exactly what kitchens become during family gatherings, the center of everything. Katie was there, and another grandson, Justin, was doing dishes. And then another group arrived. Margaret's grandson, Peter, had flown in from Seattle with his mom, Carolyn. Ken's sister, and Carolyn's fiance, Ben, which meant more hugs, more hellos, and a house that was getting fuller by the minute. Everyone enjoyed catching up on each other's busy lives, and the birthday weekend was officially underway. The next day was the big day. The party was starting around 5 o'clock, so we headed over to the clubhouse early to start setting up. Carolyn, Ben, Ken, and I were there, along with Margaret's neighbors, Molly and Bob, who came over to help. Other family came to help earlier as well. Ken had even brought a television and stand from Boise. He had spent weeks gathering photographs of his mom from throughout her life and created a slideshow that would play during the party. In the kitchen, we created a special cake area with decorations and space for both birthday cakes. Slowly, everything started coming together. Then I headed back to the Airbnb to change. By the time I got there, everyone was getting dressed for the party. Lisa, Wendy, and Katie looked beautiful. And the guys were doing what guys often do when they're already dressed and ready before everyone else, watching TV and waiting. There was also one very special gift waiting for Margaret. Ken and I left to pick up the 2 birthday cakes and the Italian dinner from Bona Vita Italian Bistro for the party. At Harmon's grocery store, I did a quick cake inspection. Both cakes looked great. Ken dropped me at Margaret's house while he continued on to set up the food at the clubhouse. I wanted to see whether Margaret needed any last-minute help getting ready. And there she was, wearing the outfit we had found at Nordstrom, the navy pants, the beautiful blue silk shirt, and the scarf to tie it all together. And she looked absolutely lovely. Peter was there along with Margaret's sisters, Barb, Ann, and Ruthie, and Margaret's husband, Ron. We took a few family pictures in front of the fireplace, and then some beautiful pictures of Margaret and Ron outside. But Margaret wasn't interested in hanging around very long. She wanted to get to her party. And because the clubhouse is only about a block from her house, she decided she was going first. And she was off. When we walked into the clubhouse, everything had been transformed. Flowers and balloons thoughtfully provided by Ben and Carolyn. Drinks by Jim and Wendy. Birthday banners, beautifully set tables, and one very excited birthday girl. Carolyn showed me one of her favorite little details of the party. That morning, someone had taken this picture of Margaret flipping Swedish pancakes for everyone. They printed it, framed it, and brought it to the party because apparently, even on her 80th birthday weekend, Margaret is still cooking for everyone. Then Ken came through the doors carrying the cakes. Ben carefully got them out of their boxes and onto our decorated cake table. We were ready. Margaret had chosen chocolate cake with raspberry filling, which was the crowd favorite, and the other cake was vanilla with lemon filling. Margaret had 45 people RSVP, 39 adults, and 6 children. Family came from different places to celebrate with her, along with a few close neighbors. Pretty soon, every corner of the room seemed to have another conversation going. People who see each other regularly, people who hadn't seen each other in a while, grandchildren, siblings, children, neighbors, all gathered in one room for Margaret. And behind it all, Ken's slideshow played on the television. Photo after photo from Margaret's life. Birthdays, holidays, family gatherings, children, grandchildren, and decades of memories. Ken even had a special Helen Reddy station playing in the background, a tribute to the days when his mother drove the kids around to their various activities while I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar was playing on her 8-track tape. We had a few fun reminders around the room of exactly what it means to turn 80 in 2026. This sign showed what life looked like back in 1946, the year Margaret was born. Who was president, what things cost, popular music, movies, baby names, and even the population. It puts 80 years into perspective. I had made calligraphy name tags for everyone, and we also had a giant birthday card for guests to sign and leave messages for Margaret, something she could keep long after the party was over. Once everyone had arrived, Ken welcomed the group and thanked everyone for coming to celebrate his mother.
I wanted to welcome all of you to this wonderful celebration of my mom, your sister, your friends, your family, Margaret and Lehi for her immediate birthday. It's a great milestone. I hope you make it to be, but to celebrate all those who's new, congratulations, because it's not necessarily social. Looking around, the opportunity for photos is enormous. And there's such a special collection of people in here, different families, a lot of people that haven't been together in a while. And so what we're going to do is eat dinner. And we have to do that before the pasta gets cold, according to the owner of the Italian restaurant that we got it from. But once everyone's finished, I'd like to take the opportunity to go outside and take turns doing family pictures. Brothers, sisters, with spouses, without spouses, extended families. Do we have any great grandchildren here?
Yeah.
That was an underhand pitch. I knew there was. So obviously we want to get those generational pictures. Just take advantage.
Then
of
he
this.
gave everyone the words they'd been waiting for. It was time to eat. We had an Italian dinner set up in the kitchen, and everyone started making their way through the buffet. On the tables, we had these little signs with an 80-year-old texting code. Things like ATD means at the doctor, BFF, best friend fell, and BTW, bring the wheelchair. Margaret got a pretty good laugh out on that one. Throughout the evening, more hugs, more conversations, and more family pictures. We managed to gather Margaret and her siblings together for some wonderful pictures outside. Ken joined him for some of them too. These are the pictures that become more valuable with every passing year. Had to go back to the house because I forgot the candles. Back inside, Carolyn showed off our 2 cakes. And soon it was time for the moment every birthday party eventually comes down to: cake and candles. Carolyn and Lisa brought out the cakes with 1 candle lit for Margaret to blow out. We decided that 80 individual candles might be asking a little too much of both Margaret and the fire alarm.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Margaret. Happy birthday to you.
And just like that, Margaret officially celebrated 80 years. Here's Margaret enjoying her chocolate cake with raspberry filling. And judging by this shot, I think she was happy with her decision. Everyone settled in for cake. The grandkids found their own table, and family continued visiting. And all the while, those pictures from Margaret's life continued scrolling across the screen. Watching them made me realize something. When we say someone's turning 80, we tend to think about the number. But 80 years isn't really about a number. It's about all the things that happened inside those years. A marriage, children, grandchildren, sisters, brothers, friends, homes, holidays, and traditions, meals cooked for the people you love, thousands of ordinary days that eventually become a life. And that was really what this weekend was celebrating. Not just Margaret's birthday, but Margaret. We continued taking pictures everywhere we could, inside, outside, in the kitchen, by the clubhouse, every possible combination of family members. Because you've managed to get this many people together in one place, you take pictures. Someday, everyone will be glad we did. Eventually, the last pieces of cake disappeared and the party began winding down. But there was still one final event, cleanup. Luckily, plenty of people had stayed behind to help. Lisa vacuumed, tables and chairs went back into place, tablecloths came off, pianos were moved, the kitchen got cleaned, and slowly, the clubhouse started looking exactly as it had when we arrived, maybe even better. Finally, Ken emerged with the last bunch of balloons. It was dark outside, and we were tired, and Margaret's 80th birthday party was officially in the books. Before going back to the Airbnb, we stopped at Margaret's house one more time, and she had something she wanted to show us. The Kate Spade purse from Wendy and Jim. She absolutely loved it, and it looked perfect with her. After all the planning, the shopping, the decorating, the cakes, the food, and the family gathering, I think we could officially call Margaret's 80th birthday celebration a success. The next morning, it was time for us to head back to Boise. But apparently Utah wasn't quite finished entertaining us yet. As we were leaving the neighborhood, we spotted a paraglider coming down the side of the mountain. So naturally, we went looking for him. Some of the other pilots had already landed and were waiting below. We watched as the last one slowly made his way down the mountain and joined them. Not exactly something we expected to see on our way home. Then we finally pointed the car towards Boise, and as those Utah mountains disappeared behind us, we left with a lot more than leftover decorations and birthday supplies. We left with new pictures, new memories, and a reminder of how special it is when a family can stop everything else for a few days, come together, and celebrate someone they love. Happy 80th birthday, Margaret. Here's to the memories behind you and plenty more still ahead.
Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.